if we have a forum.
Sure. Carly Borker,
Here.
Mac Rossi, absent. Cameron Kamlik,
Yep.
Barbara Penn,
Here.
Veronica Gearhart,
Here.
and Joel Warren,
Present.
and then Bob Lord.
Okay. Do we have a forum?
Yes.
Great. Will everybody join me in the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. Going into general public comment, we do have a couple requests for public comment. This can be on matters on or off of the agenda. It is limited to 3 minutes, so please be conscious of your time as you're speaking. And the first public comment I have is Catherine. I apologize. Yarke. Great. Thank you for spelling it out for me.
It's not the first time. It's really dark.
Sure.
Good afternoon, evening. My name is Catherine Yarte, and I am running for Washoe County Commissioner in District 5, which does kind of being part of this area. And just the first opportunity I've had to come out here and meet you guys, so I'm really excited. Thank you for having me. I want to apologize in advance that I will not be able to stay for the entirety of the meeting. I'm also the president of the Nevada Equine Council, and with all potential code changes going through Washoe County, we have a meeting with Sandy that I need to get to. So I just wanted to come by and introduce myself. I'll leave some business cards so that you can contact me. It has my personal cell, my website information. And then I also wanted to share, we're doing this Coffee with Catherine series. Once a week, I go to a different neighborhood throughout District 5. District 5 is over 6,000 square miles. We're close to it. It's just over 5,900 square miles, almost 6,000. Either way, it's a lot. And to make sure we get to every neighborhood, we're scheduling these meet and greets. They're very casual. There's no speeches. I just want to meet you and understand more about your neighborhood because I don't get a chance to get to everywhere on a regular basis. I live in Rancho Haven with my husband, Dan. We are horse trainers by trade and got involved in this process because we were dealing with some outdated county code attached to this equine regulation that we're talking about now. I also have elderly parents and a friend with a daughter with special needs, which has caused me to get more involved in seeing the limitations that we have at the county for those services as well. And so those are kind of my biggest issues, is making sure that we create more resources for seniors, disabilities, and caregivers. And that I think will also contribute to reducing homelessness. Most seniors and those with disabilities, especially adults, are just a paycheck away from homelessness. And I'd like to see a change in that process. And I do have some ideas on how we can do that. I'll be respectful of the time. So I'm trying to talk fast and I apologize. But I will leave these flyers here for the Verdi area. We are planning to come on the 31st. So not this coming Saturday, but the following. We'll be at the Sasquatch from about 11 to 1. I'm happy to stay later if everybody wants to talk. And it's just very casual. Have a cup of coffee with me. Let me know what your issues are. I don't know this area very well and I would love to learn more. So like I said, I'll leave these. I only have a couple and some business cards, but I'd love to meet you and learn more about your neighborhood.
What's the date on that? So you're going to be at
It'll be January 31st.
Okay.
That Saturday, and I'll be there at 11. We will stay as late as people want to talk to us. So I'll have my husband with me and probably my mom. She likes to go with me everywhere now that she lives with us and is retired. So
awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and I apologize that I can't stay for the whole meeting.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we have Tammy Holtz still. Hey, Tammy.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Tammy Holdstill, and I am again another candidate for District 5. I've lived in this area since 2011. I got involved with this because of the flooding in Lemmon Valley. I have been in Lemmon Valley since 2011, and I have been involved since 2017 with all of the meetings, all of the infrastructure, and what's been happening with the city of Reno and Verdi and Cold Springs and Spanish Springs. and don't like what I see. I'm a retired state employee. And I don't have a job, and I don't like what I see. I'm here to fight for all of us to see if we can change what is going on. One of the things that I don't like is the fact that because of the NRSs, we don't have a voice when it comes to the sphere of influence. And one of the things I want to do is work with the city of Reno and the city of Spartan to change our legislation so that we have in that sphere of influence a vote to on the Sparks mayor and the council. And with our voices, we can change things. I will be around after the meeting to talk more so that you guys can get to your meeting and we can talk later, okay?
Thank you, Annie. All right, so then we have Ann Radcliffe.
Hello, my name is Deanne Radcliffe. Thank you all for serving. Thanks for hearing my comments. I'm a longtime Verdi resident, and I'm gonna make a PowerPoint. Hopefully, can I play a PowerPoint with everyone before PowerPoint presentation?
If you have a presentation
Yes.
agendized, yes.
Oh, just funny joke. Okay, do PowerPoints. Traffic is my passion. And traffic, oh my gosh, you guys have been excited about traffic for a long time. Trying to find out the traffic count on South Verdi Road. I just found it today after the county doesn't have it. You had to contact RTC. It's from 2024, so the data is not even current, but it's 530 average daily trips. That's a lot of traffic headed down South Verdi Road, such as traffic safety. I know this body, you know traffic. All right, I need to go talk to RTC and some other stuff, but just I think a lot of traffic consequence as a direct result of all the city Reno development because they chose not to really put anything into infrastructure. So my daughter bikes, and last time she was biking on South Verdi Road, there was a semi truck on there that almost ran her off the road. We all know there's no truck signs, but anyway, so South Verdi, I think definitely needs to be looked at along with up at the Garson interchange, because again, there's not really been market improvements to all of that infrastructure. And Reno, right, has approved beyond the 3,000 cap that they had. So that's my passion. We headed to RTC to ask them to do something about it. And you know, City of Reno representatives are also on the RTC board, so I'll definitely bring up those issues, but I think that we're incredibly pertinent nowadays. And I'm going to expect the county to fix it because it's not a county problem. It really is a city problem that they have created for us. Anyway, thanks for your time.
Just on a side note to that, I will add, we have had RTC out to this meeting a couple times, and they have been keeping us apprised. The last time that they came out, we did discuss in detail how outdated some of their numbers were. He was actually presenting numbers from 2021. So it's actually good to hear that you were looking at figures from 2024. However, my point, and I think I'm just kind of reiterating here, so I apologize, but my point to him was that their numbers are false to begin with, and they don't account for the traffic that's coming. So he was very receptive to that. But I think that pushing the issue a little bit and making sure that we get on their agenda and whatever we can do as a community to help you, Deanne, please let us know. Okay, are there any other public comments? You don't have to actually fill out. We would love for you to fill out a form just so we have it on record. But if you have any other comments, please feel free to raise your hand. Do we have anybody online? No hands raised. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close general public comment, and we will move on to approval of the minutes of the meeting for September 15th. Do we have any discussion, comments, concerns?
I'll move.
All right,
I'll second.
great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right. Minutes are approved. Number 5 is safety updates, public safety updates. I'm not sure who's going to be presenting, but any of you are welcome. Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, Joe Chun, Division Chief, Truckee Meadows Fire and Rescue. I oversee the daily operations of our 10 fire stations here in Washoe County. So some quick numbers for you. I have the end of year numbers. So there were 508 emergency incidents dispatched in the Verdi West TM CAB area last year. That's down from 546 the year before. So good news. It's the second cab this month that I said, hey, calls went down. That's a good thing. We don't mind. Your average in 2025 then dropped to about 42 calls per month. Of all the calls, you didn't have any fires out here in December. There were 17 medical calls and 8 MBAs. The rest of the calls were pretty much good intent or nothing found on arrival. A couple quick reminders. Open burning for larger parcels is different this year. It is open through the end of April of this year, in an attempt to give people more opportunity to dispose of the green waste and the branches and everything that they have. Just go online to our website, tmfpd.us. It's on the banner every day. You can click for a permit, but it'll also tell you whether or not it's an open burn day or not. Or you can call our main phone line and select option 1 to hear what the burning status is for the day. With the incoming storms we're expecting next week, it will be probably closed with the winds that are always associated. 2 other quick things. Please remember, if you're using a wood burning stove, if you haven't gotten your chimney sweep, it's not too late. Please get it swept. We do have an increase in chimney fires that occur at this time of year, as well as pellet stoves. You don't think the pellets do it, but the pellets are just as bad as burning regular live wood in your stove. So have your chimneys swept so we don't have the creosote buildup contribute. And the last thing for you, ice slips, falls, a lot of shaded areas out here. Just be careful, and when you get an opportunity on the good days, chip that ice away and prevent those slips and falls. Helps everyone.
Great.
Anything more?
Thank you so very much.
You have a question?
I did. Just curious, out of the 508 calls for 2025, how many of those were the automatic mutual aid where you guys responded for City of Reno?
This doesn't count the automatic mutual aid for the city of Reno. That 508 number is for the CAB area for this cap.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Yep.
Is that it for safety?
Yeah.
Good evening, Verdi. Benedict Tone, Washoe County Sheriff's Office. For those of you that have the menu, because there's way more faces than I'm used to seeing here, so I'll introduce myself. I'm the patrol watch commander for the Sunday through Wednesday side of the week. So if you guys call for our services any of those times during the witching hours of the night, that'll be my team who shows up to help you out. A couple of things I wanted to go over today. I'll hit you with a bit of a fire hose of information here. Some stuff that's come up with a couple of the other cabs. Real quick, from the time I left Car Boulevard until here, we just got our report card. So our report card is a bunch of data that will come out about the sheriff's office as a whole and what we've been doing, calls for service, stuff of that nature. A little bit later will be the cab data, which we'll provide to you in the coming months. They'll break it down towards for each individual area. So you'll have a lot more information specific to here in the coming month once that is published. Real quick, I will just go over a couple of the highlights of it. Total calls for service for the sheriff's office in the month of December, 7,561. Those are all dispatch calls for our deputies where they showed up and provided some service of some sort or self-initiated activity such as traffic stops, subject stops, what have you, and that was for the entire county, which is pretty large, pretty high number for our county, and that number is a fair bit from the prior year. I'd have to do some math to do the percentage, but it is up. A couple of high points for this year compared to the 3-year average. Vehicle burglaries down, simple assaults are down just a little bit. Sex related offenses are down by 50%, robberies are down, and motor vehicle thefts are down. A couple of the ones that are up is DUIs, which I would say is going to be a function of enforcement. We do have 2 units that are specifically out there finding DUIs in typical fashion where you apply enforcement. You typically find few more of them out on the streets as that is their sole focus, is going on finding those intoxicated drivers. But that is up from a 3-year average of 25 to 36 for December of 2025. And the other one that's up that I will segue into is arson. So what I will segue in with that, if you guys pay attention to our social media, Washoe Sheriff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., various social media mediums that we have. We made a post recently about the area in Spanish Springs where we are experiencing a rash of suspicious fires. So to let you guys know, for those that wander in that direction of Spanish Springs, and in this area too, we're applying the same tools, but you'll see drones flying around occasionally. In this case, it'll be at nighttime. So these fires have been starting at night. So what we are doing, we have drone operators, deputy sheriffs that are piloting these drones that have their Part 107 certifications, and they're sending this tool up at night to go over this area to search for, hopefully, people out there that are lighting these fires, or to act as a deterrent so we can stop that from happening. Maybe we would like to catch them, but that's, you see those drones flying around, that is what they are doing. And also, you saw recently, we had a pretty good illegal dumping case, which happens all over Washoe County. That is not specific to any specific beat. And due to a citizen calling it in, we were able to go out there, stop it from happening, make them clean it up, and we were taken to jail, not just cited. Because sheriff is very serious on illegal dumping and making our forest, deserts, and lands looking like a trash heap. None of us want that. So that being said, in terms of reporting, a lot of people don't know the best way of reporting these things that you see out in the community. It's an emergency, please 911 every single time. If there's any threat to life, any threat to property, anything of that nature, please call 911. It's not a problem. Our non-emergency number, which I believe is 985 WCSO. That will still go to dispatch. They will put it out there to us. It'll still go to a deputy, and it'll be ranked in priority. That could be something as simple as, hey, I noticed there's a stop sign down over here. Something of that nature, or something that isn't necessarily emergent. You can always call that non-emergency line and let us determine what priority is going to be. So we can send that out to deputies and have somebody show up. That doesn't make a difference if you're in Incline Village, Sun Valley, or Fairlawn. All goes to the same dispatch center. Also, for the smaller stuff, I don't know how many of you guys have used 311. I like doing a sales pitch for 311 on a regular basis because a lot of people don't know how effective it actually is as a tool. It doesn't matter if it's simple as, hey, this ditch needs cleaning, something that obviously is within the purview of the sheriff's office, but nonetheless, something that you're concerned about. Stop sign is down, which would be a roads issue, or homeless encampment. That would fall under our HOPE team. That is something we would like to know so we can go make contact and try to offer resources and fix that problem. If you go to 311 and report that, there's a real human on the other side. It's not just going into a bin, it's not going by AI or a computer.
Let me still find it.
It's not being handled by a computer or anything. There's a real person on the other end. They're taking that complaint and they're going to go ahead and get it to the right person. I regularly get information from 311 from community members that ends up on my desk with traffic complaints, things of that nature, so I can assign it to the appropriate person the rest of the year. The other way you can report things specific for the sheriff's office is WashoeSheriff.com. There's very easy portal via your app, be it through WashoeSheriff.com on your computer. So you can put in favorable conduct and favorable conduct. If you want to talk about an interaction with one of our deputies, talk about homeless encampments. Any other thing you see out there, graffiti, things you like to get addressed, traffic complaints. You're out in a space that we don't get to very often, and you know there's a bunch of people out street racing, and you'd like to report it, please report it through there, and before we see about traffic starting, so we can start addressing the issues. That is all I have for you guys today. For those that are used to seeing me, I will be gone for a couple of months, so I'll be back in May. But my sergeants, one back here, Sergeant Abby Bigger, and 2 others that will be taking my place, will be in good hands. All my sergeants are very tenured and very experienced members of the sheriff's office. And like I said, we'll get you that data specific to this area, so we'll have some of that to share in the coming months as well. And there any questions passed out.
You repeat your non-emergency number with using real numbers.
No worries. 775. It's going to be 985 WCSO, which is going to be. There's my problem. Keep that. I'll tell you right away. 9276.
70.
9276. Got it. And that's for the non-emergency ones. And of course, you can call that. That will still go through dispatch. Same thing. Same dispatch rules. And which get you where you need. Certainly.
Do you have any information on response times? Are they getting any better, any worse, about the same?
Staffing has improved, so it depends on what your benchmark for comparison is. So compared to a few years ago, when our staffing was much lower, absolutely. Right now, on any given night, I can speak to my shifts. If we don't have any sick calls, vacation, anything else of that nature, we usually have 12 deputies in the valley. We have another 4 up in the village, which they're so far away, we have to staff out with a few more people. We have individuals out in Gerlach, resident deputies out there, and we also have some of the ancillary guys. We have canines that work patrol, not just doing their canine duties, so you can have a couple more right there during the daytime. So with that amount of people, we also have our 2 guys we call A-Ride, which are DUI enforcement. So that being said, what that all means is when you have guys doing things like DUI enforcement, they can take those DUI cases, which typically the deputy officer free for an extended period of time. Just because of the length of the investigation, give that to a specialized unit, and that deputy is available to handle call for services when you guys call in, which significantly improves response time. Especially depending on where we're as we prioritize calls. Out here, with the beat over out here, we have somebody assigned to every single night. There's a large beat, but Crystal Peak Park, you go down there, a few times a night, you see a deputy driving through. We have a whole handful of areas where we ask our deputies to drive through, check what's going on. So there's usually going to be somebody nearby absent some other critical incident happening at exactly the same time that you called. Ma'am.
What would I email or that if I'd like to ask for traffic enforcement?
Washoe Sheriff, so you do one of 2 things, washowsheriff.com is fine.
Okay.
And then that'll go to one of the lieutenants and or traffic sergeant. And he's the one who's in charge of all of the motors units, and they'll make a plan to do enforcement, and that's where we'll do things like speed trailers, radar enforcement, things like that. That's where those come from.
Beautiful, thank you. And the second question I have is, behind the houses off of Garson Road where they do a lot of target practicing, is there an active program up there to address that, to make sure people are not shooting in that congested area?
All over the county.
Okay.
So all over the county, we have a couple of hotspots. The biggest one by bar none is going to be out by Golden Eagle Park in Spanish Springs. That's like David. So I'm gonna be so long again, social media, try to keep you guys informed using that medium. You saw we use one of our drones to go out there and find some people target shooting and shooting very unsafely. I might add, anybody had occasion to watch that video. But we're able to identify who's out there, who's doing it before we send it. Any content. Then we can make a determination if it's going to be handled through education or if the citation is appropriate, what have you. And we also try to push out any if you guys have younger people or anybody who wants to go shooting, if you just aren't sure where the congested area is, that exact same app has a map that will pinpoint your location onto the map, and you can see if you're in a congested area or restricted area or where you're at, so you know if you're shooting in or not. And you can actually see where it's at. Any other questions for me? Wonderful. I'll be here afterwards. If you guys have anything else for me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Proposed.
All right, moving on to County Manager Case Thomas for a little intersection and meet and greet.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, and thank you all, first of all, for coming out, taking time out of your evening to talk about this in Washoe County. I am here as your new county manager. I have been in the role officially since December 1st, but I've been interim serving since about June with the county, over 8.5 years in local government, for longer than I'm gonna admit here today. So I just thank you for coming out. This is why we do what we do. We public servants, is to hear from our community, and this is a great challenge. So good job. You guys have a great cat. This is fun. Although I keep hearing there's never usually this many people. So hopefully you got here for me. But if you are, a little bit of history about who I am and where I came from. I started in local government in 1996 in a city in Southern California. I grew up and was raised in Michigan, went to undergraduate school there, and then my parents announced that summer they were moving out to California, and I was like, get me out of Michigan. So we moved out west, and I've been there ever since. Loved it. Moved to the Reno area in 2004. And never really wanted to leave Nevada after finding home. Like, I don't know where this place has been my whole life, but since 2004, raised my family here. My sister moved out here, started a family, married a fifth generation Nevadan. My parents are here, so we sort of all migrated to Nevada. So not local by any sense of the imagination, but very committed to the community. So I mentioned I started in local government. I worked in a public works department in 1996 doing a program to run used oil recycling. My undergraduate degree is in environmental studies. I have a bachelor's of science in that, and then I went on to get a master's in business. When I was working for that city, I started understanding that kind of where I wanted to go with my career, which wasn't naturally local government, but here we are. They offered me the ability to go to school while I was working, which was great. So I would spend evenings at school and got my master's in business. I then moved to Northern Nevada when my husband took a job to relocate us up here. We thought we would move to Lake Tahoe because he doesn't want to live there, and then Montreal said that you can't afford to live at Lake Tahoe. And so we ended up just in South Reno, which I absolutely love. I've been in the same house for going on 22 years. And so happy to be part of the community. Started working for the city of Reno in 2004. I was the assistant to the city manager. Back then his name was Charles McNeely. For those of you that have been around a while, you might remember him. From that job where I worked for about 3 years, I was asked to serve at the Nevada Secretary of State's office. They needed a deputy secretary of operations. I had some experience with accounting and HR, some tech services stuff. And so I went on to serve as their deputy secretary of state for 5 years under Ross Miller. I then was asked to go back to the city of Reno and be their budget director. And so I went back to the city. I loved the state work. It was great. And it was really interesting working at a constitutional office and having a giant chandelier office in the Capitol. That was pretty wonderful. But I really appreciate the work that local government does at the county and city levels. It's closer to the community. The state is, like I said, it's wonderful. It's just not the same connection. So went back to the work for the city of Reno as the budget director, now to be assistant city manager, and then went over to the county to be assistant county manager. Like I said, for 8.5 years. So hopefully this is my final chapter of government. We'll see. But that's a little bit about me and my qualifications, why you may have heard my name around. I've been here, like I said, in local government for a long time. I've met many of you through that journey. And then people have been asking me, well, what's your vision for Washoe County and what's your focus? Let me be clear, I'm the CEO of the organization. I don't set the policy. Those are the elected officials that I've said this to Tammy and others before. God love you for wanting to seek and serve in those roles. You have to make the hard decisions. I just have to execute on behalf of your vision and the commission's vision, what it is that we'd like to see for the community. So you, as the constituents of the region, put those people into place to make the policy decisions. And I get to execute those decisions on behalf of the board. And so it's a really cool opportunity. The county has 3,200 employees. We're over $1 billion budget, as you likely know. So my first focus right now, because I've been here so long, I don't need to be out in the community sort of making those relationships. I have a lot of them, and that's really a role for the commissioners. My internal focus right now is just that. The 3,200 employees that we have, making sure that we're retaining and working as efficiently as we can as an organization. And we've got some really talented folks that we work with every single day. My goal is to attract really motivated people that want to work in local government and serve at that high capacity and then retain them so that we can do great things for the community. So I'm going to be internally focused for probably the next year or so. So we've got 26 departments. For as long as I've been at the county, we've been operating more or less in silos. What I'm trying to achieve in bringing together our executive leadership, including all those department heads and the elected officials like the sheriff and the district attorney and our elected public administrator and the recorder and the treasurer. And we've got 7 elected officials other than the Verdi County commissioners who are also elected. So that's an interesting, out of those 26, 7 of them are elected officials. It's bringing them together in a way that they can have meaningful conversations with each other, share efficiencies that they learned by overseeing their department. So we're not reinventing the wheel in 26 different areas of the county, and basically having them as resources for one another. It's decently lonely at the top, especially when you're a department director leading, the sheriff's office, many hundred people, the human services agency, 450 people. It's a lot of work. So trying to get and cultivate those relationships with our executive leadership. We've got a really talented team, and I'm happy to be working with all of them. So again, my internal focus. The cabs, I always get asked, okay, so we're getting rid of cabs, we are not getting rid of cabs. I just want you to hear from me directly, not only are we not getting rid of cabs, we are looking to increase participation, the meaningfulness of these meetings, keeping you engaged. You guys have been through our leadership program, you've been active members of this community for so long, why would we not have this? This is the grassroots opportunity for you as constituents, neighbors, to provide your input for us to hear and us to all work together to solve important community issues. So you heard it here, we're not getting rid of cabs. You could, I've said it at the last 3 that I've been at, I've said it publicly, it's an interview question practically. So I just want to clear the air on that guy before we move on. And then lastly, I'll leave you with, because a lot of folks are wondering about the budget. You've heard that our neighboring organizations, whom I've been a part of, I mentioned the city of Reno, have done some layoffs. They're looking at some real struggles. They're talking about $20+ million shortfalls going into the budget year in fiscal 27, which starts on July 1st. The county is a different organization when it comes to budget stability. I have watched from various seats in this community how it's done well, how policymakers and others see new revenues or new income opportunities and take that money and immediately spend it on whatever the special project is of the day. Not blaming them, but the reality is that the county is more fiscally conservative. Our revenue sources come primarily from property tax, which is a more stable revenue than the sales tax that the cities are a little bit more reliant on. They're about 1/3 sales tax, 1/3 property tax, and 1/3 fines and fees. County, we're about half property tax. So it's a little bit more stable of a revenue source, which gives us an opportunity to be more conservative. We also have some very strong fiscal policies. We have a high level of fund balance required. It's our savings account at the county. Nobody in our organization or in this region or anywhere that I can tell you wants to go through what we went through in 2008-ish. We should never get to the point where we're sacrificing the people that do the work because we weren't able to be fiscally solvent or strategic about what we're doing and how we're spending resources. So right now, as far as the budget goes, we're going to have a workshop on Tuesday. For those of you that are interested, it's open to the public. It'll be online. It's on Tuesday the 27th. It starts at 9 a.m. And you'll hear nationally what we're looking at from a trends that we're seeing nationally. We'll drill down and talk to our local, we have a local consultant with a group called EK Consultants. Eugenia Larimar will be there to talk about regionally what we're seeing. So we start a national picture, drill down to regionally, and then you'll hear from a bunch of our staff, budget staff, the comptroller, our treasurer, about what we're looking at for the current fiscal year, what we're seeing 5 years out. So we're projecting out, how we look and why we're saying cautiously right now. We're facing it's not sustainable what we're looking at with the number of people that we have to do the work that we do. The revenues aren't coming in as high as the money that we're spending on mostly people is how we're looking at it. So we're really drilling down in the last couple of years on how we can really fine tune what we're doing in the departments. Are we working as efficiently as we can? Are there advances we can make in one-time expenditures, whether it's technology or working smarter using contracts and contracted staff instead of adding more staff? So we're just trying to really go through that exercise during an economic downturn or a potential, cooling of the economy. It's a good time to go through that exercise, and it just makes us stronger as an organization. So you'll learn more about that on Tuesday at the budget workshop. And I'm going to stop talking because I've thrown a lot at you, and I'd love to answer any questions that you would say. There you have it. Like a fire hose. Yes, Matt.
Welcome, thank you. Matt Rocky for the record. We had Commissioner Hill out here at our last meeting and trying to perk up the attendance for here. I didn't know, I'm kind of offended. I was a rumor I may not make it, so everybody showed up. That's people didn't much about here now. But one of the concerns we had was to try to get more activity in the Rhine Forest like yourself. And we thought maybe there was a possibility because this area, this cap extends into Reno quite a bit. And whether we could go ahead and maybe contact HOAs if we had Casey's help to see if these people are really concerned about the community and don't know there's a cab here, and whether go by the zip code or something and make contact on that. So that was one thing we were trying to support. Thank you for addressing the Leadership Academy program. Both two of us have already committed, and tremendous. If you want to touch base more on that later, but it's a tremendous program, and I think anybody that has any interest in the county would be more than happy to participate. It's 1 day a month, and it is first cabin. They treat you well and they inform you well. And I have to say, I had gone through it 15 years ago, and it doesn't even compare. So it's nice to see you people here. Thank you to have some concern, and we'll try to see if we can get more celebrities like ourselves, like her out here to draw the crowds. But
Carly Borchard for the record. I really appreciate you informing us that the cabs are here to stay, because that is really important specifically to me.
Yes.
Just a little bit of background. I actually served on both the cab here and the NAB for over 6 years with the city of Reno. So I'm curious if you wouldn't mind elaborating a little bit. Are you still involved with the city? Do you still have good relationships over there? We're really interested in potentially doing a joint NAB and cab.
Yeah.
Because that area is very, very different from most of your other cabs.
Yep.
In that we are within the sphere of influence of the city of Reno. So any developments that have occurred or are going to occur in the future go through the city of Reno, and it is not coming to us, which is a really big issue.
Okay.
Specifically, based off of the Mortensen-Garson overlay district, which rules this particular area. It specifically states within that negotiation that they're supposed to go to both the cab and the NAB. Our issue is that the cab has ostracized development from being heard because we don't vote, which is not a big deal, but it should still be presented to us. So we've actually, we're kind of jumping the gun here a little bit. This is item 8. Yeah, but some of the things that we need to address. So I don't know if that would require a joint NAB tab. We've discussed it a couple times. I think last meeting was where it really came up, but I wanted to address it with you because it's really kind of important to us. Sure. This is the most informative and useful of our time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it has been for the last year.
Okay. So
if I can interrupt just 1 second, we're referring to this 1,300 homes up on the hill here that we really didn't get addressed on at all, and it's been a real concern here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a good question. You asked a question, do I have a good relationship with the city? I do. I work so well with both the cities of Reno and Sparks. We have manager calls every other week. We're on text, email, we have great relationships. Doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, but we do have open, good communication of 3 managers that have committed that we get farther as a region by working together than we do fighting one. And that's just how it goes. We made great strides in big areas by working together. So that being said, I think, personal opinion, I think a combined NAB tab would be a great use of time because you will get the opportunity to talk about development issues if they are coming to the NABs. I know we've moved towards a more community meeting for agenda for development issues, but why have 2? I don't know why you would need to have 2 meetings. I feel like that's not a great use of all of your time. We talk about doing things a little more efficiently and effectively. So I'll talk to Casey and some of the staff back there, see what we can do if everybody's cool with that. I don't know why you wouldn't try to combine and join forces.
I'm not saying every single, I know the NAB meets every single month, we're every second month. I'm just saying at least a couple times a year, like when there's pertinent projects coming up.
Right. This is your meeting in collaboration with the commissioners, so it needs to be useful for your community. We're not here, I'm not sitting in those, 9th Street, complex trying to dictate what happens in this community. This is what you guys need to tell us that you like, and we'll see that. Make sure that it gets seen through.
I got a list for you.
Oh, good. Business cards in the back. I don't fill them out freely because my cell phone number is on there, but for those of you that really want, I'm happy to give you one. It's absolutely no problem. But yeah, whatever I can do to help facilitate.
Awesome.
I'm here for it.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Of course.
Are there any other questions or comments, concerns?
I'm really easy to find on email. I'm very responsive on email. You can go through Casey to get to me or any of the folks at the county.
Also always in office.
I'm always in the office. Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Much to their chagrin, it's fine, but
I think we've got a couple more questions up here.
Sure. One of the big issues that I've heard from my neighbors is talk of the Verdi Library being closed by the county. I think it's primarily due to staff changes, the library board and budget cycles and stuff. Do you have any information about that, or is there any possibility of having a bigger budget in future years so that we can continue to have a library here in Verdi?
I don't have detail for you. I never want to answer on the fly with something that I don't have, but I can get you some information. I could get it through Casey to you all. We can follow up on that. The budget conversation is kind of goes back to what I was saying. We're going through that exercise right now, really turning over every stone. We really using every opportunity we can to be efficient. And you'd be surprised at how creative people can be when they understand they're not going to get more staff. In the past, as you know, if you're private business owners or whatever your role is, you may understand that back in the day, we were able to just throw more staff at it. And not sort of offset where somebody maybe wasn't performing at their highest. We don't have that luxury these days. And so it's been really apparent in our organizations when folks are not working at their highest potential, it becomes really apparent, and there's a level of accountability that staff seems to be holding one another at. So I think that exercise is happening at the library as well. I don't think anybody wants to close branches. I think there's a way to get there. But again, I don't have enough information at my fingertips to give you a really good answer on that, but I can find out.
That'd be great. And also, I might be weird about this, but I think we have some of the best snow removal around. And it's something that, when you look at other parts of Nevada, other parts of California, the people that we have here in Verdi do a great job.
Good, thank you.
So if you can.
And we've got that transfer, there's my plow, I don't know if you, seen that, thank you, I'll pass that along. I love positive feedback.
And down here, I just wanted to ask you kind of two questions. And initially, where do you coming into this, see the gaps between community input and county action? Where are you kind of seeing that? And then to follow up from that, kind of from you looking in, how do you think this board can be more effective in getting to the county and so on?
Great questions. One of the things we really try to do well, we are public servants, we are for the public, we are for the communities. We, again, take the input from the citizens very seriously, and know that you have the best recommendations. Now, we can't do every, if I put in every stop sign or speed bump that we've ever been asked for, it would be tough. Hard roads, maybe South Verdi Red. Anyway, but we do take that very seriously. And for us, a coordinated and purposeful conversation with some recommended actions is great. When we get buckshot all the time, I don't like this or I don't like that. That's great. That's input. We'll take it in any form we can get. But what I oftentimes say to people is, okay, if you were me, what would you do? What would you do? And so when you give us a recommendation, hey, we don't really like, I don't know, the color of the stop signs, right? Red's so outdated, we don't really like it, but we've all gotten together, we did some research, and we think that hot pink is the new red. Here's why we think it would work. We can go, what, it's a terrible idea, you really don't like it. That kind of input that's got recommendations or suggestions is more helpful than us just trying to guess what the solution might be. In some cases, there might be reasons, but once we build that trust with the communities, when we say to you, we really want to do what you're asking, but we can't give the reasons why. We want to build the trust so that everybody goes, darn it, that's not the answer that I wanted, but you know what? I trust you. I understand that we're going to move on to the next issue. That's where we need to get as public servants. We're not there. There's this severe distrust in government. I'm not saying it's unwarranted. There have been some, times where people have just taken advantage, but it's times like this that we really dig in and try to earn your trust as the public and work together. So there's that piece. So giving us that constructive feedback, what would you do if you were us, kind of thing, knowing our budget constraints, and then the third part of your question, the community input, we're trying desperately to have different ways for you to communicate with us. Speak up. If you can't make it to a board meeting, we understand that board meetings during the day, not everybody can go. We have jobs and life and all the things that are happening, but we've got opportunities for you to provide input. And so we put those agendas out, 3 business days in advance. It's usually 5 actual days with the weekend. Read through it. If you've got comments or suggestions, we tend to talk about in those board meetings, things that are important to the community. You hear things here that are important to the community. Listen, be engaged. Don't let it catch you by surprise. If you want to reach out or have ways that it would be better for us to take input from you, we're all ears. Social media is great. We don't love getting blasted on Nextdoor, things like that. That's not, again, I'm looking for constructive things that we could do to really help serve the communities, if that helps. Or if you have other ways that we can take input from you, we're all ears. Again, we don't know all the ways that you like to communicate. We're not asking you, the only way that you can weigh in on a policy issue is coming to the board meeting. That's not feasible for everybody, so. Use those tools that we have. Those engage opportunities and. A lot of it's online.
Just a further comment that we want to thank you for, or thank the public service, both the forest and the sheriff's department for giving their time every other month to come up and update you folks on what's going on, what's the safety and what we need to do. And it's sometimes the only ones they talk to is us. So we appreciate your time. And I thank you folks very much.
Thank you. All right, well, if you have any other questions, I'll have cards. I'll stick around for a little bit of great stuff, but thank you.
Come on, gotta have some questions here. This kind of crowd.
No. I know, I'm for sure. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now. The big topic that I've been waiting for about 6 months is representative from NDOW to address deer population.
Right, I didn't come bearing gifts or propaganda. Talk about it. I just stand up here. Yeah, you just want to put. Okay. Yeah, so for the record, Cody Schroeder, Department of Wildlife. Stationed in our Reno headquarters office, and I oversee our mule deer and pronghorn antelope program. Not going to go too much into my background, but feel free to ask some questions about that at the end. So yeah, I just wanted to provide a little bit about kind of broad overview stuff on mule deer populations. That's what I was asked to do. This graph right here just represents the mule deer population of the Carson Range. For those of you who aren't as familiar with like hunting units, we kind of group things around the state by unit groups. Hunt unit 194 and 196 is Peavine Mountain, the Carson Range from I-80 down to Carson City. To the California border. It's an interstate herd that we share with California. The deer migrate. You'll see some maps about that. But the take-home message is, since about the 1980s, we've had pretty significant population declines. 92, 93. For those of you who were around then, might have remembered it was a particularly hard winter, so we lost quite a few deer. And then it kind of evened out through the 90s. We had a little bit of a bump in the early 2000s, and then really the last 10 years we've been on a pretty good downward climb as well. And there's a tiny bump at the end the last couple of years. So that's our old population model, which is it's kind of an accounting type model, spreadsheet type model. There's no uncertainty or stochasticity built into it. We're moving to a new, what we call integrated population model. So we put in a whole bunch of different data types, population surveys that we do from helicopters, radio collars that we put out on the landscape. We put our hunting information in there and we project the population. And then you see these bars that just gives you like kind of a level of uncertainty around the estimate. And so this is again, the Carson Range, which would include Peavine, Mount Rose all the way to the state park down at Carson City. That's the primary summer range. So that one's kind of, this is only going back to 2006. But you do see that the same kind of trajectory, just downward. The confidence intervals just mean that there's less certain data going into the model, but the trend is going downward, which is unfortunate. Go on to the next slide. One of the ways we collect data is by, you probably have seen us flying around in helicopters at times, counting animals, counting deer. We also catch them with a helicopter. We contract these crews out they're pretty specialized to fly around and shoot a net out on a bunch of animals and catch them. We bring them into a base camp. Process them, we put radio collars on, take blood samples, measure them, do all kinds of stuff. All that data goes into these population models. That's this new integrated model we're using. So we also, the top graphs are just kind of showing like what our harvest rate is. So on the left, we have 0 for females because we don't have a female harvest in this area. It's only bucks that are harvested. So we calculate that rate. The ratios, the YOY is just the young deer to the adult ratio. That's kind of one of the metrics that you can put in. The sex ratio, how many bucks compared to how many does. Those all go into this model to project those. So you can go on. Some of you may be familiar with this, some of you may not, but we've been doing a fair amount of radio collaring going back to probably like mid 2000 in conjunction with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. So we've been radio collaring deer. We're finally getting all that data analyzed and published, and this is one of our more recent maps that we've produced. So this is the Verdi Truckee mule deer corridor. And so you can see, Verdi right there. It's a little bit hard to read on the screen, but the black dot right there in the middle. So this whole area, including this side of I-80 and the other side, the Garson Road side, is crucial winter range for mule deer. And there's also a corridor that goes up through the canyon to the Truckee River. So a lot of the deer summer near Truckee, both east and west, south Truckee, and winter in Nevada. We also have resident deer that don't migrate at all to California. They just stay in town or around Peabody year round. And I have some links at the end where you can find some of these maps, and you can actually click online and go find out. You can actually zoom in and do things like that. So you can go on to the next one. Oh, before I leave that, go back real quick. The purple is just the high use corridor. So we have a model. We put all this data in. And then what it does is it just overlays the more paths that are used in one area. It gives you kind of like a population level. So it's high use routes compared to like some of the gray areas. Maybe one deer wandered out there, but it's not necessarily a high use route. You can go on. Okay, so this is somewhat confusing because there's actually 2 mule deer herds, technically. The one that you may have been heard about, the Loyalton Truckee herd, because some of the deer winter out near Loyalton, California in the Sierra Valley. This is both of those herds kind of merged together. And so the blue is the winter range. The yellow is the medium use corridors. The orange is high use corridor. Then those red blotches are what we call stopovers. So on their migration paths, oftentimes deer will stop and forage, or they might hang out there for 2 or 3 days. It could be a month. Some of them, they don't like to go down to their winter range, the terminus, if they don't have to. So it doesn't snow, for instance, in Truckee until December or January. They might not migrate until late. So they use these red areas as high use areas. They're usually areas that have really good forage, like bitter brush and sagebrush and grasses that they prefer. Okay, so that data was mostly older data. We have been collaring, and I have been getting questions about this recently. So both California Fish and Wildlife and Nevada are doing collaring. We're not necessarily coordinating those efforts very well. I mean, we do collaborate and share data, but it wasn't like a project that came together. This is some of our data that we worked with Nevada DOT on, Department of Transportation. They gave us some money for collars, primarily because we were interested in this area between Cold Springs, Lemon Valley, and Reno, 395 corridor. It's a high deer vehicle collision area. And they gave us some funding. We put some collars out. And lo and behold, they are very much connected with Loyalton Truckee herd. So, but not all of them are. So some of them stay entirely on Peabody, the north side of Peabody, up there, kind of where it says winter range. Some of them do migrate across the highway right above Cold Springs there. And then some of them migrate to Stampede Reservoir or even Donner Pass is their summer range. and then you can kind of see their path. So they actually cross right through Verdi or right above Verdi. On their migration path. And then I just the highlighted areas, so you got the star there is Verdi. Deer vehicle collisions, because I know that was a concern. That is definitely a concern of ours as well. We've had 2 in Verdi. This is just from collar deer. Okay, so if they get hit and they don't have a collar, and they don't get reported, we don't really have any information on it. DOT does collect some of that information, roadkill data, and they pick up carcasses and things like that. And we do share the databases, but these are only color animals. All of the deer that you see around Verdi that have colored or tagged on them right now, anyway, are probably California collared deer, not Nevada Department of Wildlife collared deer. Because we haven't been doing any collaring around Verdi, we collared on Peavine. Now you might see one wandering through Verdi once in a while. They don't look any different. Usually it's a box. We're transitioning now to solar ear tag, so it's a little tag about that big. It weighs 28 grams. It goes in their ear, and so you can see those on like the Peterson Range north of Cold Springs. We're putting some of those out. Then you can go on to the next one. So this is kind of a cool view in Google Earth if you were in a plane above Truckee looking down to Reno. So you can kind of see Verdi there. It's a little bit hard to read. So that's the Truckee Canyon, and those are the actual paths. So they summer, up around Truckee, blanking on the name of the development, Marta's Valley. So kind of out by the airport, Truckee is. And then they go through the canyon. They actually have to cross I-80 twice. There are some crossing structures on the interstate. They're underpasses, so they're not like big bridges. They have to go over a tunnel. And the deer actually just go across the highway too, and you've probably seen some kid if you travel in here in Truckee on the highway. But that just kind of gives you a bird's eye view of the gauntlet. They sort of have to go down the canyon to get to Verdi, and then you can see that big flat out there. That's the Garson bench. That's what I used to call it. I think it's Santerre Willsey something development now. So just for reference, you can go on. So this one doesn't immediately pop up. This is actually Carson City, but we do have to live with wildlife. And I'm sure if you guys are residents of Verdi, you know that deer are all around us. We don't often see them because they love to hide in bushes like this doe here. Yes, and so they're constantly. This is in fact a county. I think it's a city, Carson City employee, or maybe it's a county. I can't remember. Has no idea that this deer is there. And of course, residents of Carson City, they have to deal with this constantly because there's a lot of deer in Carson City. So I just wanted to show that picture to highlight there's a biker coming, there's a car coming. We have to live with wildlife. Share their habitat. You can go on to the next one. Oh, yeah, in case you couldn't see it. Maybe a little cheater there, I forgot about that. Okay, so this is some data analysis that we did a few years ago, and we're publishing this in our connectivity plan. Wildlife collisions for all species. This one is just looking at the map is just deer. So the bigger the dot, the more collisions per 5 miles. So you can see right away, a lot of them are concentrated around Reno. Elko and Wells, Ely and Panakas, kind of other hotspot areas. And then that graph just kind of shows you the sheer number of collisions. It's way more weighted towards mule deer. It's by far our species that get hit the most, mostly because they occur in areas that are high traffic areas around urban areas and things like that. Similar map. So this is one that we published in this report, and feel free to take copies of that. But just kind of, it's like a hotspot mapping. So it takes all the data and the collisions and shrinks it into little hotspots, and then so the panel on the right kind of shows you the black dots are the highest category, so 26+ collisions, and that's a 1 mile hexagon on the one on the right. Our three of our top hotspots in the entire state are actually that Cold Springs Highway 395 right there where A is. B is Verdi, essentially. Now keep in mind the data was collected only up through 2020. Unfortunately, we don't have more recent data than like about 2022 from our databases from the Department of Transportation. But one thing of note of that, DOT, which I'm sure most of you are familiar, has fenced at least from the California border along Interstate 80, high fence, exclusionary fence to keep deer off of the highway and force them to use either the natural undercrossings or just stay on each side of the highway. And so some of that data is probably much minimized now.
Not in our area.
Compared to on the interstate. There are deer that get on the interstate still get hit, unfortunately. Okay, just wanted to highlight some resources that we have. We've been working on a connectivity plan. This is our Nevada Wildlife Connectivity Hub. The website is out there. If you just Google Nevada Connectivity Hub, you will probably find this website. It has those maps that I showed, more resources. The next slide, I'm gonna go, this is the resources page. I think I have some it's on there. Yeah, so that is where you can download a copy of this connectivity report, and then the Truckee, Loyalton, and the Verdi Truckee herds that there's more information, kind of just like general information, and it's falling to so there's a link right there on this website you click on, and there's like you can view the reports. It's west and wide, so it's got all the deer herds across the entire west, so you have to kind of search for Nevada or California to find the data when it's in there. Some other stuff about fencing. We get a lot of questions about fencing. This has a fence guide of wildlife friendly fence designs. We tend to not like barbed wire if possible, especially on the bottom strand. But we have to have it for like livestock and things like that. But there's some designs in there, pipe rail fences and things like that for people ask us about all the time. All right, this is just one kind of quick one on where we're going. We just started a statewide fawn collaring study. We don't have any collars here yet, but we're going to be putting up some by Gerlach up on Sheldon. Most of them are going out by Elko, Wells, and Ely. We're going to continue with that mapping from the data that we have. We have constant public engagement and outreach opportunities and social media. We're going to be hosting a Mule Deer Summit in July. It'll probably be in Ely, Nevada. It'll be open to the public. We hosted one 2 years ago at Winnemucca, and it was pretty well attended. We had professional speakers and folks from out of state and things like that, and kind of a fundraising event for Mule Deer conservation as well. So I think that's pretty much it. You have to answer any questions.
Hey, can you go back about 5 slides to where you have the couple more back, where you had the local population of deer wintering? But 2 more back from there. That works. So actually one more, that works. So when you look at the winter range, a big chunk of where they winter is actually in the Santiago Quilchi Ranch subdivision.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've noticed is here, living about a mile away, is we have like 5 times more deer. And when you look at the longitudinal decrease in deer population, if the primary place where they winter is now a subdivision versus a place where they could eat food, what will be done looking forward towards keeping the population from, cratering? Because I don't know about you, but if I stop eating, I'm not going to live all that long.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's definitely been a lot of development around the community. So in general, deer don't like development. Takes away their habitat. However, what we have found is they can learn to adapt and to developments. And then oftentimes what we see is we get into a wildlife conflict situation. Okay.
She did.
But I think your question kind of gets at, is the deer population going to like increase or decrease? You know, because of maybe like development on the winter range, or where will they go maybe?
Well, I mean, if we think where they winter, how are they gonna make the winter without food?
Right, so that's a fair point. It doesn't usually happen overnight, so what we'll see is kind of a slow decline, and they will kind of move out eventually. We've got projects in place where we're trying to improve forage around the areas. So in areas of burns, one of the major causes for the declines for folks that don't know has been past fire histories, because it burns the native shrubs that they like to eat, and then it doesn't come back right away, or it comes back as like cheatgrass or basic annuals that they don't like. So we'll do what's called offsite projects where we can work with our federal. Most of the land around is federal property, or even some private, but we'll spray herbicide to remove the weeds where possible. We'll do habitat projects, like the fire that was up above Garson, the one that was off Mount Rose Highway. We'll plant seeds on top of the fire to try to get the rejuvenation back. So we are doing things to try to improve the habitat, even where we know it's been sort of like impacted. But it probably won't stop the slow decline. Something change.
Matt Rossi for the record. Obviously, there's a few on the wall that didn't make the count last year.
Yeah.
But have you seen a significant change either? It looks like you do the count with NDOT2, any collisions of cars and animals. Has there been a significant change over there by Gold Ranch where you put in the rails and the fencing?
Yeah, so that's a good question. As far as I know, we have seen more anecdotal reduction in collisions along interstate I-80. As you can see from that other map, we still have issues like 395 because there's no fence, there's no crossing structure for them across the 395. It seems like we may have had a slight uptick in collisions like off of I-80, so that might be actually because we have more traffic and we fenced off some of their kind of like natural corridors. Now they're kind of forced to go under the natural bridge, or the bridge that goes over the Truckee River. They have to go under that. So that might have resulted in this kind of more localized collisions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Veronica Gehrer for the record. I know when a lot of these things are decided upon, like the fencing or a way that a deer can get underneath the freeway, there's someone coming in and giving you models that project what's going to happen to the population. I didn't see anything that shows like what is maybe anticipated to happen. Do you have any like models that show if we implemented this, then this is what the population trend is expected to have happen?
Yeah, we don't have anything like that. I mean, we could. We don't even have a good handle on truly collision rates in some areas because things are constantly changing. Yay ball data gathering. But we can get a rate and we can put that into our models, and kind of like those integrated population models that I talked about can tell you if you have a 5% increase in survival rates, what that would do down the road. I didn't show like the future projections, but they can like swing back up to the positive if you increase their survival. So for does, for females, it's about 80%. 80% of them survive annually. You can actually have a population increase. Still have to have fawns getting recruited too. But it's just like human population growth. If your births outweigh the death rate, in general, you'll have an increase in population. It's just that the tiny amount of data that we have to put in there, like a localized area, it's hard to project it out.
Thank you. Harley Warchick, the record. Why is that? Why don't we have enough data, and what can we do to improve that? Because I can assure you, I've seen two deer hit a day.
Yeah. So the databases, the information we collect comes from multiple sources. Some of it comes from if the motorist hits deer and they call the sheriff's department. The sheriffs log it. We can tap into their database. But not everybody that hits a deer calls the sheriff's department. It's often, it's not like a bad accident, right? So there's, that can happen. We get data from DOT, they pick up the cold carcasses on the highway. If they're right on the highway and they have to take it to a facility to remove it, then they log it in a database, so we get that. Road maintenance crews haven't been great about entering the data. In some cases, they just kind of like pull the deer off. This is more in rural areas. In this area, they generally take them to a place, but like rural areas like that. So might not get recorded. And then like large trucks that hit a deer, sometimes they won't even like slow down. They just basically keep going. It doesn't get entered, and the deer, if it's not right in the road, might not get put in the database at all. So that is one of the reasons we don't have, and then the database, the database that DOT is kind of maintained is in the process of evolving, and we're trying to make that better, trying to help. We're actually working on an app that you can put in. Citizens can put in collisions.
Right.
They are very resistant to it for safety reasons, and probably for good reason, because they don't want people stopping on a busy highway and on their phone, entering data or taking pictures. But we're trying to work with them on that to collect data from citizens. It could work in places like we wouldn't want that on the busy sections of like 580 and I-80, but maybe on peripheries.
So I think the big thing that I wanted to hear from you, maybe you have some suggestions. A number of residents out here know exactly where these deer crossings are happening and exactly where these collisions are occurring on a daily basis. How do we get signs out here that say, you know, when you're traveling, anytime you travel, you see signs, deer crossing next 3 miles. You know,
Yes.
There's good signage everywhere except Verdi.
Yeah. I mean, there are some signs.
There are, but yeah, but
mean,
like right off the freeway where nobody's looking.
Yeah.
And then right off of the freeway where nobody's looking. So
Yeah.
there's nothing in town where these deer are actually crossing to give people a heads up. I mean,
We know the streets that the.
we know the
deer
exact
cross.
sections.
We
and
know that
exactly time of
where they
day.
are, we know where they're gonna cross. We see them
every
daily.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, we see them right off of,
So a lot of residents are saying, well,
Right off the
take up a
entrance.
fund, let's actually
Yeah.
purchase these signs ourselves and put them up ourselves, and I've been trying to tell them, I don't believe that's allowed. I believe you have to have authorization.
Right, in a nutshell, that is correct. Like, so the Department of Wildlife, first of all, we don't, it's kind of not in our purview. Like, we don't control any of the properties, the right of ways that
Right.
it's either the State Department of Transportation or county, or some cases, cities. We do work with them and we receive the calls, and I can contact my colleague at the HDOT and say, hey, is there anything we can do to get signage? But they can't always just turn on a dime and put them up. Like, they kind of have to have justification. Signs in general don't work that effectively, especially the static signs. What tends to happen is people ignore them over time.
Mhm.
I'm sure you whizzed by a classic yellow deer sign at 70 miles an hour and just said, oh, I wonder if there's any deer, but you didn't really slow down. And then the more times you do that, you don't see deer. You know, you just get numb to it. That's actually, this document right here has a bunch of information about signs and dynamic signs, and the ones that tend to work are actually flashing signs, but they're only on when there's.
We would love
deer
that.
present. Then you don't have that, like, oh, I've seen that sign a million times, but I've never seen a deer there. And so there's that. And then there's like the traffic and enforcement of the speed limits and things like that, so. You know, people just don't obey speed limits and signs and stuff like that,
So
so.
what is your recommendation? Who would I personally contact to get the ball rolling on this? Because believe me, I understand government takes a minute.
Right, well, so I can get you in contact.
It's on my list, honey.
So DOT is the first person to you know, contact on Old Highway 40.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, cross streets and things like that I am not as familiar with the jurisdiction.
Right.
the Reno incorporated area and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you throw a rock, you're in a different jurisdiction.
Right. But I'm sure it can be done, and if you bring funds to do it, or they have funds sitting around for it, but.
Okay.
Do we have funds sitting around?
There have to be grant monies for those.
I will definitely pursue this. I know,
Harley,
I see a ton of communications on social media that people are,
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt the.
please go ahead. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Bob Lori, member of the board. Let's assume for purposes of discussion that I am a developer. And my plan is to develop a 1,000-unit subdivision in northwest Nevada. What is NDOW's role in determining whether or not my project directly or indirectly impacts wildlife? And two, what is NDOW's role in requesting or demanding mitigation?
That's a good question. It's a hard one to answer. It's kind of evolved over time. We do have a good working relationship with the city of Reno and the county and other jurisdictions. There's a recent statute that passed the legislature, I think 2 years ago, that actually requires developers to sort of file this permit. There's a fee that goes into it. So we have somebody at the department that works on this specific topic. And usually it's more of a voluntary thing on mitigation. Developers can, if they choose, to develop a wildlife mitigation plan. Sometimes that might have like a fund that goes into it where they'll set aside, funds to improve the habitat around the development. Of course, out of the state, we can't really say yay or nay on any of these developments. It's primarily like zoning changes and things like that the county or the city's voting on. But they do kind of solicit our input on certain projects. And so there's that avenue. Some of the ones that we've worked with, Cold Springs is a good one. Their HOA actually, they baked this into their HOA when it was developed, an account and a HOA fee that goes into this account so we can tap into it for habitat projects. The fires that burned up on Peterson Mountain, we rebuilt the geysers up there, and we also put seed all over, so we use that fund for that.
So do you know whether or not, if my project is in the county, for example, whether or not the county commissioners plan can require mitigation? Or is it always, if I'm a developer and bottom line financially, why would I volunteer to do something unless it's required that I do something? I come from the development industry. That's not how it works.
Right.
So does the county and or the city decision-making process have the authority to mitigate as NDOW might recommend or request?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. Don't know if they can require it, but sometimes they will put stipulations to approve some of these projects. They'll sort of like try to put it on the developer to work with the Department of Wildlife to come up with a mitigation plan. That happened like with the Highland Ranch, for instance, the first round of city, because I participated in the meetings, said, hey, can you work with the department to come up with a mitigation plan? We did that on the first iteration. Now, of course, it's changed rapidly since then. It's the Stonegate development, I guess, on the north side of Peavine Mountain. That since has kind of gone through a whole new iteration of plans.
If my project in Loyalton, I was dealing with the Loyalton here, I would be required.
Right, so California, different than Nevada, different laws, different rules, much more stringent environmental rules, and they have their own kind of version of like the national our policy act, it's called. Thank you.
Who's collecting the carcasses and who do we call and how fast do they? I mean, there was a couple of that here, 40 with a dead bear just up from us from 80. Who do we call? Well,
Generally, it depends on where the jurisdiction lies, okay, so generally the DOT, if it's on a state highway or interstate, if it's on a county road, county sometimes will remove carcasses. We generally don't, unless it's a bear or a mountain lion, because we collect that data and they're more of like, I guess, a sensitive species. Just to make sure there was no. Sometimes our law enforcement will actually go check them out to make sure there's no various things that happen to the bear, like got poached or gallbladder got rid of. So if it's a deer, it's generally the county or the state department of transportation. It's a bear, you can call it NDOW for sure, sheriff's department. Sheriff's department all the time on wildlife issues to get it out, especially if it's safety concern. For border business.
Any other questions? Yeah, my question, my first question is here, you guys. I live in the Verdi Ranch Estates across the freeway here, and there are a lot of tags for bear and for deer. There is bicycle path that's going through the mountain bike path going through there. There are 1,300 homes going over there. My question is, and I come from a big hunting family. My son's first deer was right behind your house. Is the interaction of the hunter with all of this development? Is NDOW considering not handing out back there? Guns and bicycles and people don't go together.
Right, so there's a couple different jurisdictional things, so we actually have already reduced the tax quite a bit for here. We have a board of county commissioners as well that gets to vote on all these proposals. For like tags and seasons like that, we recommend the levels, but sometimes they change them. We cut those down. There are laws though, and there's different laws depending on which county you're in, but for Washoe County, you can't discharge a rifle within 5,000 occupied dwelling.
I don't think, but people with tags behind your house.
Right, and so
They're up there hunting all the time, they go up my road.
right, so we can cite them, our law enforcement, sheriff's department, any law enforcement can cite them, but of course, yeah. We don't have enough to be out all the time, everywhere, to catch people doing it, it's once they shoots. A lot of our hunters do use the congested area app that the officer that you can look it up on your phone and show you where you're kind of allowed to shoot. Again, regardless if you're hunting. So a lot of our hunters actually, the responsible ones do use that. But not all of them do. So
there's a good number. There was an incident with a gun at the top of my street just not too long ago. So
yeah. I mean, I would just say if you see that, if you have a concern, you can always reach out to one of our law enforcement or the county. Or an NHP, or depending on.
Because I walk up there with my dog, so I was kind of concerned about, and they bird hunt up there. And you hear the shots all the time. Yeah, they bird hunt all the time up there.
Right, well, so there's hunts, people just do some recreational shooting too,
Yeah.
They may or may not be something.
How many feet is it, like, from where she lives in Belli Ranch up into the mountain right there?
Yeah, because we're.
How many feet do you have to be away from the houses to shoot?
5,000 feet for
5,000?
Fire. Yeah. For like,
That's 5,000 for a shotgun.
Say.
I know a lot. And are there any plans, do you know of any plans, and is NDOW involved in? Because I know that deer do not like underpasses. They don't like to travel near fences. They like old fences.
Yes.
Well, we've got a publication that we wrote, one of my colleagues at DOT, and university, researcher. That showed, and on Highway 93, they actually preferred the overpass.
But was there an overpass near?
There's both, there's underpass.
There's both,
and overpass.
an underpass.
They will,
Because I have a.
they don't like the dark concrete culvert ones, but I don't know if you've ever driven between here and Hallelujah Junction or Susieville, so there's like 5 concrete boxes that go into the highway with fencing. We've got colored deer, in fact, some of those, the maps you see up there, the colored deer go right through the tunnels. But they do prefer the overpasses.
Yeah.
Those overpasses we built cost like $22 million, that was in 2018 or 19, it's gone way up. Construction costs.
Everything.
The underpasses are a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the congestion of people and hunters back there. I've lived out here for almost 40 years and we've found homes and old people on our side of the road too.
Yeah.
There's gonna be quite a few people.
Well, 4,400 homes they have allocated for up on that hill, up to 2029.
So.
And it's ridiculous what they're gonna do with South Verdi Road.
So I was just concerned, and especially hearing the last story about the incident with the 2. I don't know, I'm in secondhand, I'm kind of leery to pass the story on, so, but I got it from a couple of neighbors. So there were a couple of guys in hunting gear with a gun on a person in a car.
Okay, well, they shouldn't be hunting right now, if they would, it would be illegal, we don't have any seasons going on, but we do in that November time period, supplement seasons on.
Okay, any more questions? Like to.
But like what we were talking to the county manager about, so that if we are going through with what we need to get done, so we can have a consolidated effort and get our concerns taken care of. In Verdi, so our roads, we're not on a highway, but that's a whole different deal. What would you say the most effective crossing signs are? You're saying the flashing ones that sense when the deer are there, or
Yeah,
what do you see as the most effective, mitigation?
For crossing, I would say the flashing ones are the most effective. It's a kind of a lower cost method of, not building like a giant overpass or something like that, or pass. Those are pretty much the best ones. The static ones tend to not be that effective. I mean, they might at first, but it's just like there's signs for the billboards and advertisements and everything everywhere, so you just kind of get used to it. So good.
And just one follow-up, and I'll be done. Seeing that sharp decline.
Yeah.
Are our mule deer populations at a healthy level, or are they, risking, because that's a sharp decline, unless that was a peak in the 80s.
Yeah, so that was the last boom. I mean, healthy is kind of a relative term, so we like to think of it as, are their populations in conjunction with what the habitat, what their carrying capacity can support? And honestly, they probably are right now, just because we've lost touch with habitat with fires, other kinds of things like that, so. They're not at a tipping point where, like, if they get at a real crucial level, then they actually can't reproduce enough and kind of like maintain their populations. We're not at that level yet. Yeah, so they're just kind of like slowly going down, and what we've seen in other places is just kind of this plateau, so they kind of like bottom out. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I have one more.
Yeah.
Highway 40, since we know where the crossings are they capable of putting those calming things in the road, maybe one at each end? Because, these people speed by the bend and could have killed my deer the other night. And I just think once you go on that end, where Fitzgerald's gonna build his right there, that's heavy. Because they come across, they get on the roundabout, come up our way. But I don't know if they would be allowed on that type of road. Those long ones kind of.
I think that's a better question for RTC and or the county. Unfortunately, I don't believe.
Yeah, we don't have any jurisdiction on the roads or right of ways or we can kind of recommend things to our colleagues.
Slow people down.
Right, yeah, I mean, I agree, the speed is kind of one of the issues, and volume, traffic volume.
Yeah.
Combinations.
So
Yeah.
Endow's, what I'm getting from this is Endow is just tracking animals. That's basically it's not the safety of the herd or.
I mean, I wouldn't characterize it that, because we have a lot of concerns for the herd ourselves, we put millions of dollars into research and trying to improve their
Yeah, I
habitats.
get that, but you're just counting and where they're going and. I mean, I don't see the resource to solve the problem, I'm not getting this problem, I'm not getting that. On what you're saying.
Yeah, so I would encourage you to check out our website, come to maybe one of our wildlife meetings and see what our wildlife commissioners kind of grapple with this, see where the funding goes, it's all very transparent. It's just like this meeting that has to be agendized. We have records of it going back to see where we're putting the money. We spent millions of dollars rehabbing the fires here on federal lands. Typically, that would actually fall on federal land.
I know, we were in
So we put our own money, comes pretty much from hunters. Put that out there, so I think you characterize it, we just count them and see where they go.
Yeah.
We're trying to do as much as we can within our means, but we're a pretty small agency. We don't have like funds to resource.
I'm sure that your suggestions. And I'm sure you're working, I'm not taking your work, you're not working out what you're doing. It's just that we're not seeing a lot of, you know.
Especially out here.
I mean, I can. Well,
All right, well, thank you so very much for attending.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not entirely sure where to go with this one. The county letter to Commissioner Hill. This is a discussion and possible action by the West Truckee Meadows, Verdi Township Citizens Advisory Board on a letter requesting Commissioner Hill take actions within her authority to encourage homeowners associations within the county boundary to take action within her authority, or to share information about our meetings when they are, you know, get our information out, because by far and large, I'm seeing on social media and outreach to our residents, nobody has any idea these meetings are happening. As soon as they hear about it, they want to know when they're at, when they are, and try to prioritize them, but we don't have a means of letting anybody know. I think we used to post a flyer at the post office, that's since stopped. I used to personally do it, which maybe that needs to come back, but just looking to have a discussion amongst the CAP here on what we would like to do. I did draft a letter, I just don't know how effective Commissioner Hill is going to be able to be with as many homeowners associations as we have out here.
I think we kind of touched base with the county manager as far as getting an opportunity to try. I live not in Verdi, but more in the city. And there's a lot of homeowners out there that may be interested in the items that are going on here. And over here, a lot of us, you folks, are interested in developments that are coming up here. So we got two big subjects that we need to have more input in the county, and we appreciate their help. You were going to say something.
If I might,
Yes, please.
why don't you turn that letter into an email to me?
Okay.
And let me take it.
Okay.
And gather what it is that you're interested in seeing accomplished back to our.
You want my list?
I want, well, yes, but this letter, which, yeah, your long list, you can send that in to me.
Okay, okay.
Is there anybody else that would like to add on to the list? Well,
Tammy Hill, still for the record, may I also make a suggestion and not only include Chair Bill, but also include Commissioner Herman? Because there is two commissioners out here, and since there are two commissioners out here, it should be that you have
That's a
two
good point.
districts.
Yeah.
Put it all together as one.
That's a
And
good
I can
point.
send it to them too.
Okay, great.
And I Cameron Gravel for the record, One thing I've noticed our post office is Sierra County does a great job of publishing their meeting agendas. We don't.
Correct.
And I think that just in terms of good governance, publishing our agendas before we have a meeting kind of seems pretty logical to me. I also think that putting them up at coffee bar where they have corkboard bed bathrooms be something that would get a lot of people's attention. I know a lot of places where people have substance community, but we could put something up at the post office, put something up at the coffee bar. I think we'd have a lot more attention. I also think.
Even put up the bars.
Driving by, of course.
And I'm not a big next door fan, but I think it'd be great if we could just on principle always post our agenda about a week ahead of time on next door. Because we haven't really done that. That's a way of getting out to people with doesn't require us to have a beer or something.
And we do have coming attractions, so that it is just for here, you guys are gonna be.
The only thing I want to say, and this is for the county communication, it would be really nice instead of in the email, click here to open the agenda. When you get busy, you don't come back to that email very kindly. If it said there was a meeting happening, the agenda was right there, that would, from a user perspective, you'd actually cruise through that whole email and say yay or nay versus, oh, it was for that agenda or did I move it on?
Embedded in the email.
Embedded in the email, yeah, the click the link.
To go and.
Right, you don't have to.
And usually our meetings are not this long.
Yeah.
So,
Let me get to Bob first.
Thank you. Carly, I would support Central Better. I'm on the Sierra Canyon group. And they would be interested, especially in regards to development issues.
Yes.
So I think notification would be helpful. As to the issue of notification of developments, I'm not satisfied that us simply being notified of a development does us or our community any good. It would be helpful if we had a presentation of the development. If we don't have the authority to make a recommendation, still simply having the information to report to staff would be helpful. But that's a cost. You have to pay staff to make the presentation. So that's a big decision for the city or the county or whomever to determine whether or not they want our input, because they're gonna have to pay a staff member to make a presentation.
And but my understanding is that the county and city are merging our GIS, which will allow for a more holistic view of seeing what all the development proposals are. Because right now you have to look at both the county and the city, and it's really easy to like you see something that's being built, and it's really hard to see like what is it, because you don't know whether some what the jurisdiction is. And my understanding is that is like for Q1 and Q2 of this year, which is a lot easier.
Please.
Veronica Gerber for the record, if you are willing to participate, just so we know where to put your efforts, if you in attendance are willing to raise your hand just to say, if you heard about this meeting from various things, so if you heard about it from word of mouth and you're in attendance, if you heard about it from next door and you're in attendance, okay. If you heard about it from an alternate,
Social media. Washoe County.
Washoe County.
Email. Washoe County.
Email from. Email.
thank you.
Good. Moving on.
Do we need an action item to authorize you to send a letter?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
On behalf of Kathy.
We should.
I would so move. I don't know if you.
Would you
want
like me to
send
read
a
what I have
draft
drafted?
out?
Would you like me to read what I have drafted, just so that you guys have an idea of what this email would be that I send? And I'll summarize it, obviously, but basically, dear Commissioner Hill, we hope this letter finds you well. We are writing as representatives of your district, sitting on the West Truckee Meadows Verdi Citizen Advisory Board. We respectfully request your support in strengthening communication and public participation related to the county. Specifically, we ask that you use your authority and influence of your office to encourage homeowners associations within our district to share Citizen Advisory Board information more broadly with their members.
This would include, when possible, distributing meeting dates, times, agendas, and participation opportunities. Increased visibility of CAB meetings would help ensure residents are informed, engaged, and able to contribute meaningfully to discussions that affect our neighborhoods. In addition, we respectfully request that you encourage developers operating within the district to present project information directly to the Citizen Advisory Board, especially for projects located in Verdi. As this is outlined in the Mortensen Garson Overlay District, public transparency and community input are important components of responsible development. Presentations to the CAB would provide an appropriate forum for residents to ask questions, better understand proposed projects, and offer feedback early in the process. Verdi continues to experience growth and development, and many residents value the opportunity to stay informed and involved. Supporting consistent communication between HOAs, developers, and CAB would help foster trust, transparency, and collaboration between county developers and community. That was redundant. Thank you for your time and your continued service to our district. We appreciate your consideration of these requests and your commitment to encouraging meaningful civic engagement. Please contact us should you wish to discuss further.
Commissioner close.
Wait, too many people speaking. Please.
My only comment would be, I would not want to rely on developers volunteering.
Correct.
If the developer is not aware that the decision maker is going to actually receive our input. So I would like to see some verbiage indicating an opportunity to provide input to the decision maker. If the developer knows that we're going to provide input, the developer is going to show up.
So a couple of things that I would like to discuss on this, just to direct it. Having sat on the NAP for as long as I did, City of Reno is the jurisdiction that they're getting approval from, not Washoe County. So they're not required, there's nothing, it is absolutely voluntary. The only difference is for some of these NGOD related projects, such as Santerre Ability at the last meeting, they were required by the city to come and present to us and obtain feedback and come back to that. That's about the only thing that I believe, and please help me out, that the county can support. If it's a county project, which won't happen out here because we're sphere of influence, they have a hub that they require. You are going to have your own community meeting at your own expense. You're going to get community feedback. You're going to come back, and until we're satisfied that you've gone out and done this, we're not approving your project. The City of Reno does not do the same thing. So I don't know how forcefully we can insist that presentations are given or that they even hear what we have to say.
I understand that.
But I agree with you. I mean, I can certainly try to be more forceful with that language, and that it should be a requirement.
I would ask that.
I think the route to do that might be our earlier conversation of having the joint NAB and CAB. I think that would be the best route to go to get kind of our foot in the door there and be able to share our opinions.
So Carl, I agree with everything in that letter, but my question is at the right level of government to talk to. My understanding is that Nevada HOA is regulated by the state, not the county. And this to me seems like it might be a better bill for like next legislative session, you know, for urban counties in Nevada where you have CABs and NABs. Maybe there should be some sort of legal requirement, whether it's a policy thing for the HOAs to have to, you know, let people know if there's a CAB or NAB meeting, and also submit some sort of, you know, whatever we want to structure is that they'd share with us. And it might be something where Commissioner Hill is, you know, very well-meaning human being, but she's not the right level of government.
Right.
One comment I'd like Matt Rossi for the record is that I also attend the NABs, and right now the NAB Ward 5, and they don't even have meetings. They've canceled this meeting for this month because they got nothing to talk about. So maybe the joint might be the answer.
Any other comments, discussion? Any other feedback from the residents out here, anything that you would like to see?
I just wanna know if they're gonna do anything about South Verdi. I'm just really leery about it because I'm even having trouble right now pulling out of, I live up on Buckbrush, which is off the Kit Carson Road. I'm having trouble even right now coming out of my subdivision. There's only 16 of us up there. And I have trouble getting off of my road right now, just from the parents coming off of exit 3, coming down there to take their kids to school. If I want to go I go to physical therapy, or I go out to Sports West, go to the gym around 9 o'clock or quarter to 9. Parents taking their kids to Verdi Elementary, they get off that exit now because half of the time the road getting off exit 5 is slow, so they get off that road and so then they come off that road and going. It's only 25 miles an hour, and they're going 35 or 45. So I'm sitting there for 15 minutes, and if they do that, they're doing that project with up to 4,400 homes. And that's gonna be the main thoroughfare. It's a 2-lane road. And it can take me 15 minutes to get out of that road. And then we have all those other homes on South Verdi Road. I don't know what we're gonna do with that South Verdi Road. It's 2 lanes.
Is that South Verdi Road is in the city of Reno?
It's actually, what it was Washoe County. Now they've made it the city of.
Well, it's partial, and actually you can see exactly where the improvements, where the
They
improvements.
made They decided now city of Reno is in control. So one Washoe County, now city of Reno.
I'm just ready, I've been doing this for a long, long time, went to the city of Reno, I spoke up, they choose not to deal with that. It is really going to RTC, their board meetings are the 3rd Friday at 9. I know it's another, you have to go do it, but I've been down there before because you were at Washoe County, SPAR, City of Reno, and an NDOT person. And it is an onus on us because the city of Reno has really negatively impacted all the development.
Oh, they said they did all that impact, yeah, when 21?
Anyway, so I recommend RTC, I'm happy to exchange information, you gotta go down there, you gotta speak.
Oh, God,
And you gotta ask for something.
We've got the whole group, we've got the whole event on South Verdi Road going down there, talking to everybody. But I just wanna know, are they ever gonna do anything? Because
We have to go ask.
yeah, well, I have to say, I don't think I'm ever gonna get out of my road.
Last 3 months.
Yeah, they're never even there, and actually this one man, they're gonna die before they could come up with the answer to it. I'm gonna be stuck up on Buckbrush for the rest of my life.
Okay, I'm bringing it back in.
Thank you, Carmen.
Bringing it back in.
Yeah, okay, I just wanna know.
We'll continue those conversations, and we'll certainly try to get those on the agenda.
I would like to.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the chairman to send the letter as drafted, as you may modify in response to our discussion.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
You can count on.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. I will revise. I will probably send it on to Casey so that you can also give you guys a copy of what gets sent before I actually physically do it. Okay, moving on to item number 9. Neighborhood Development Hub and other engagement opportunities.
You have a few things.
Okay.
There's a lot in the faces, I'll go over a little more detail, but I'll keep it brief and it was getting late. So as many of you have found out this meeting, if you're wanting more opportunity for development input and wanting to know how to get there. The best page you can go to is washoecounty.gov/BCC, the index page. And that will take you, once you scroll past the commissioners, all the ways to get involved. So one of the best ways there to see the neighborhood development of meetings. You'll click on the link there and that will show you that we have one upcoming that was posted today. It's an attainable housing density bonus DCA neighborhood meeting that's going to affect all districts. There's going to be 2 meetings coming up on the 28th and 29th. One is virtual, one is in person. You can go, I assume, to both if you want to. It should be the same meeting. And then if you want to know, like, how do I get notified for those sorts of things on this same page, you can click sign up to receive district news and other topics of interest. You will click that. Anything you want to know about audit committee, animal issues, etc., anything that the county puts out, you'll receive those to your inbox as you may have received for Verdi Cap, but maybe you want to know what's going on in the North Valleys district, so you can subscribe to the North Valleys or District 1, etc. So this is your best friend right here to just know what's going on. And then the other thing, back to Joel's point earlier on how to get better input and community outreach. We have right here this community input portal. You click on that, it's going to take you to a couple different things. You can go to community input. From there, find your CAB location. It'll ask you questions and things you might want to bring up. If you can't attend a CAB meeting on a Tuesday night at 5:30 because you have work, you can go in there and say, hey, am I having this issue on South Verdi Road? Put these things in. I receive those and check those once a week. And I do my best to track down changes. And so I'll give you a recent example for the Warm Springs cab. There was a lady who had an issue with her road. I was able to take that to our roads department and figure out the correct person to talk to. We didn't get it fixed, but I was able to give them an actual answer. And then we also have the county coming out to inspect the road up here on the 26th, to see what can even be done. Those are ways, if you can't make a cab meeting, or you forget, like, you don't want to come up and talk in person and give your input, there's an easy way to do it online. And then if it's something that's actionable, I take it to the cab chair and say, hey, like, there's like 13 people really talking about deer getting hit on the road. That's kind of how this got done
50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
In the first place. And then some commentary I know on HOAs seems to be a big one. I thought it would be an easy thing to do myself, and I went into it. Even the the Nevada Secretary of State's website does not list all of the HOAs in Verdi. It lists one. And so I will let you know, as far as I know internally, that is the thing we are looking at as far as advertising and figuring out how we can even tackle that messy of an issue. I don't have a solution for that, but we are looking at how we can do that. And I know you guys will talk about and discuss future topics. I just want to keep updating what you have brought up in previous cabs and what I have or have not done. So the other one that has come up is the bypass in the top of Pyramid Trail and RTC. So if that's a future topic that's interesting to you, which I believe Veronica has brought up, that's one we can look at pursuing. That way we can be on top of getting our agendas out in advance as requested. And then I have been asked by, he was here a few meetings ago, I think his name is Brett, but he's with Fire Adopted Nevada and both emergency management from the county. Has also expressed interest in coming back to talk to the cab. So both those groups are very interested and willing to come up to the cab and talk about Nevada Division of Forestry and Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District. They're talking about all kinds of different plan updates, and I can give you more information. I just got this email today that they will come out and talk.
Okay.
And then also, if we go back, there's another survey we have out, and then that's with our emergency management, and that's on Swift Exit. This is another everywhere in Washoe County seems to be a hot issue for evacuation. Should an emergency happen, please everyone take this survey and give your feedback. That's a good use of your time right there.
Should be good.
And if you emergency. And then I know you've asked about the Verdi district. I've had no updates on what's going on with them. So that is what I have.
Okay, thank you. So you kind of segued into number 10.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and take your lead on them. So we do have the Tahoe Pyramid Trail bike paths, fire management. We'll address that and get that agendized. I would really like to see a RTC follow-up. We told him we would not beg him for a month or two, but it's been that. So I'd like to see him come back and really address these numbers that we're looking at. I wouldn't mind a follow-up on the letter or email and communications that we have with the county, since it'll be 2 months by the time we discuss it again. And then
I'll let you take the floor on the couple of items that you have.
Yeah, I've got two that'll be coming up. We had a lady that was in this area that was surveying some of the homes out here for fire safety in your home. And she addressed the county, did a tremendous job on it. And we're gonna have her out here and talk to her. And also I don't know if you're aware, they did kind of a dedication out here off of Highway 44, Riverbend, thank you, Riverbend Park. One of the county members had donated about $1,500. It's kind of a sleeper. I think it has a little ways to go, but a great little park if you have stopped by just to take a look at it. Great murals out there and good job on that. So not to get too far off, but before anybody get anxious to leave, thank you for attending. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and I hope you got something out of it. And you, thanks for bringing him for a change.
Scott, I'd like to admit that I've lived here for about 3 years, and I was being a baby, because it turns out that in Nevada, there is a homeowner's property tax exemption. So your property tax is guaranteed to go up 8% per year, unless if you fill out a form with the state, which is a primary resident, so it goes up 2%. So for those of you who 3%. Sorry, so 3%, 3% is a heck of a lot better than 8%.
Yeah.
And so for those of you who don't know about it, you should apply for the homeowner's tax exemption, so the property taxes don't go up farther than they last week.
Yeah.
Last time we had talked about the business that is requested, I can't remember the name, that does the processing of marijuana.
Yes.
But I thought as an idea for who we could bring in to speak, if every meeting we have a business that comes in and just comes in and introduces themselves, because I think a lot of us as public members would like to see a face or just kind of have an idea of what exactly does this fox symbol on building do that says I'm having a hero space. You know, you can go to their website, but to talk to someone, have them explain it, I think would be great.
We've had that
before.
Well, it was actually the Verdi Community Council meeting at Boomtown, Weber Materials.
That they
And
spoke.
we used to do that, so it's a great suggestion.
Yeah. You might want to attend. I understand they give out samples.
You don't need to say, we just drive by.
Drive by. And just walk across the street. Yeah. Tonight.
All right, any other items from the board that you would like to see? Okay, I think we've got a pretty good list to work with.
Thanks to the Sheriff Department for stopping by. Appreciate it.
I
Thank
do
you.
want to open up for general public comment and closing. Is there anybody that wants to have a say for items on or off of the agenda? Seeing none, is there any online? No hands?
they all are.
Okay, great. Then I think that we are at adjournment.
Got it. Thank you, folks.